What's going on, guys? CTG Matt back. I'm a little bit late, but I was also at work when this broke. As you saw in the title, the thumbnail, and by Shams Charania, Jimmy Butler has officially been traded. Finally! Took way too long, let's be honest. But he gets sent to the Golden State Warriors, a place where some people, including me, were worried that he would not want to re-sign to, and in fact, he did re-sign. For a lot of money. We'll get into that. The full trade hasn't really been resolved fully yet. I don't know if you've seen that. I'll explain. The Warriors get Jimmy Butler. Okay, fine. Then you get the Heat getting Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker, and a first-round pick. One first-round pick for Jimmy Butler. It's fine, because they had no leverage. Jimmy didn't want to be there, and they made it clear that they really didn't want to re-sign him this offseason, given all the things Pat Riley said since last season, starting in the playoffs, really, but maybe even before that, who knows. Whoa, Pete Alonso just got a deal mid-recording? Pete Alonso, 2 years, $30 million with the Mets. That's pretty cool. Back to the Jimmy Butler deal. So, Detroit Pistons got Lindy Waters III and Josh Richardson. That's actually a pretty decent part of the deal. They didn't give up anything, and they got Lindy Waters, who has shown to be a positive, or at least a fine NBA player who can get some minutes on the court. He's respectable. They also got a second-round pick. That's pretty cool. The Pistons get thrown into this deal. They give up nothing, and they get a second-round pick in Lindy Waters and Josh Richardson, who hasn't seen the court much due to injuries, multiple injuries, but there's a real chance that he could play some minutes down the stretch for this Detroit Pistons team, who still hopeful to make the playoffs. The Jazz get Dennis Schroeder, modern-day slavery, as he said. I don't even want to comment on that, but Dennis Schroeder gets traded to the Jazz. I assume he's probably going to get bought out there or rerouted somewhere else by the Jazz. So don't buy real estate in Utah, Mr. Schroeder. I wouldn't bank on your time there being very long. Raptors were supposedly going to get Kyle Anderson, but as recently reported, I've seen that they are still working on trying to reroute Kyle Anderson. Yes, per Shams. Miami's keeping Kyle Anderson for now, I guess. So yeah, there you go. Now that you've heard the details of the trade, I'm assuming you probably want to hear my input and my opinion on the trade. For the Golden State Warriors, we'll start with the heavy hitters just to get that out of the way. For the Warriors, this is a pretty good deal, basically a no-brainer. They've been talking about whether they're in and out of this, do we want to win now or do we want to save our assets and help this team long term? Well, this kind of did both, I guess, because they didn't trade any of the young guys. They traded Andrew Wiggins. They traded Lindy Waters. They managed to keep Pajemski. They managed to keep Kuminga. They managed to keep Moody. They've even managed to keep Jackson Davis. They kept a lot of the young guys. Even Guy Santos is safe. The Warriors then extended Jimmy Butler to a 2 years, $121 million deal. Very expensive. People were like, holy overpay. And I understand that way of thinking. He is old, and a lot of his numbers this season are very close to career lows from when he's been like an actual big player, when he's actually played real minutes. We're not talking about career lows from when he was playing 6 minutes a game in Chicago. People are a little bit skeptical about that. Me personally, I'm not really worried. This was a guy who was coming into the season who was looking for an extension, and I felt like for a majority of this season, he's known that he's not going to get one. Ergo, you get half-assed effort Jimmy Butler. I don't like it, to be honest. I don't like seeing any player playing sub 100%. If your intentions aren't to play the best on the court, what the hell's the point of taking the court? That's a different point altogether. Just to summarize this move for Golden State, I think it's a fine move. 2 years is not long-term, so it's not back-breaking down the line for them, considering they've been thinking very long-term in their thought processing and how they approach this trade deadline, free agency, everything else like that. So this isn't a deal that's going to break their backs long-term. They gave up one first-round pick, Dennis Schroeder, who wasn't playing well anyways, Andrew Wiggins, who you're getting an upgrade with Jimmy Butler, and then Lindy Waters III, who, yeah, he was playing good rotational minutes, but oh well, you didn't need a 12-man rotation anyways like they'd been running. The downside of this for my Warriors fans out there is that now there's a real potential of Buddy Hield starting. That's a downside. And let me tell you, if Buddy Hield is starting playoff games for this team, he has the capabilities to lose them a series. Obviously, I don't think Steve Kerr's a dummy. If he's really hurting the team, he will probably stop giving him minutes, but they keep believing in Buddy Hield, despite Buddy Hield being consistently terrible for the latter half of 2 months now, basically. But otherwise than having to start Buddy Hield, this was an absolute no-brainer trade for the Warriors, in my opinion. Like I said, you kept all your future pieces, you kept a lot of your picks, you didn't air out the pick tank, and on top of that, you kept Kuminga. If you want to pay him, that's a weird situation. I don't even know about that one. Or you could still even try and reroute them. I don't know. But you gave up Dennis Schroeder, who's been essentially nothing for you. You really didn't give up a ton in this deal. We can move on. We could talk about the Miami Heat, who I am very excited for. Obviously, 2 other teams were involved in this deal, but I want to mostly talk about the Heat for a minute. This Miami Heat team I'm very excited for. Very, very excited for this team in Miami. Albeit they're not going to be as good as some people thought they were going to. They're probably not a playoff team. However, they're going into a partial rebuild. I don't want to call it a rebuild because Pat Riley condemns rebuilds. He does not want to do a rebuild. Don't ever suggest a rebuild to Mr. Pat Riley. So they get Andrew Wiggins, who can help them win now if they really care about that. He's a ready now player like they've been wanting. You get PJ Tucker back. He was once on the Heat, and you don't really care about that. He can go enjoy Miami and live it up. He's probably going to play this many minutes per night, about as many minutes as me and you. So it's not really an impact there for PJ Tucker. You don't really care anyways. Even if he shows up to the facility, fine. He's a vet. He could talk to some of the young guys in there, Khalil Ware, guys like that, Jovic, I guess, and you'll be fine, right? And then you get a first-round pick. We have to see what the protections on that pick become, because if it's heavily protected, I would have liked to get more. However, I still haven't seen any reporting on if this pick is any type of protected. And if that's the case, fine, man. Even if it is protected, you really got to think the Warriors probably aren't going to be a bottom 10 team if it's top 10 protected. So, you're probably going to end up getting that pick at some point, even if it is down the line. Albeit, some people think they probably could have gotten more than one first. I really doubt that. They have no leverage. They have none. They know they're not going to re-sign. They knew they weren't going to re-sign Jimmy. They knew he wasn't. Well, he did put out an apology like, Pat, I'm sorry, I'll come back. The ship was sailed. The ship was sailed by then, buddy. He wore Phoenix Suns shoes onto the court, basically. What more could you want, So they had no leverage in these negotiations, and so they weren't able to pull a ton out of it. However, like I said, you got Andrew Wiggins, who's a ready-now guy who can give you rotational minutes, and a first-round pick. That's all you can really ask for. And on top of that, you got out from Josh Richardson, and you didn't have to extend Jimmy Butler. So for a team that's young and looking to rebuild, you're there. Now is time for player development. Nikola Jovic, hey, buddy, you're our star player. No, he's not the star player. It's Khalil Ware, right? I don't know, man. I've heard it's Khalil, but you look it up on Basketball Reference, it says Khalil. So, I'm not sure. Heat fans, let me know down in the comments. I've heard it pronounced 6 different ways. I've never heard him pronounce it, though, so that's probably my main issue. But he is the star of this rebuild. He has shown he can do big things on an NBA court. And honestly, I liked him a lot as a college prospect. I was kind of salty when the Heat landed him. But you have some young guys there that you can help develop. I'm not sure what guys like Bam Adebayo are going to be doing. I don't know. They probably keep him long-term and hope that, hey, man, we can get this rebuild done quick and he'll still be a part of the core. Same with Tyler Hero, who's taken a big step up this year. All-star Tyler Hero. I don't hate it. Some people really hate it. I don't hate Tyler Hero as an all-star. So yeah, now this era of Heat basketball post Jimmy Butler is going to be centered around guys like Khalil Ware. I'm going to say Khalil Ware because that's what Basketball Reference tells me to do. So with Khalil Ware as one of your building blocks, Tyler Hero probably as one of your building blocks, and same with Bam Adebayo. Bam's only, 26? He can't be that old, right? 27. He's not that old, and considering his game is kind of athletic, I'm not sure how he's going to age, but I assume he'll be here for a little while. He's always a defensive player of the year. Not as much this year, but he's always a great defender, defensive player of the year type guy. And a great building block all around. And then Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the league. That helps a lot, So now it's just rather player development rather than focusing on the vets. Like, you've had Jimmy Butler for a while now. A while. Let's be honest. And it's been a while since you've been in an absolute, like, hey, let's get some player development going, internal development. Obviously, some guys have come along to help, but a lot of the guys that helped them in past years were signees and guys who came to Miami via trade. Guys like Goran Dragic, stuff like that. These guys who helped them in big-time moments were guys that weren't always developed. Tyler Hero was developed. Bam Adebayo was developed. And look at that. You got 2 out of 3 corners of your franchise for the last 5 years from player development. So now we need to get back into that player development bag, Eric Spoelstra, and get guys like Khalil Ware and Nikola Jovic the ball more and hopefully see some progress in them. Maybe even somebody like Pele Larson. I like him too. Plays good defense, can handle the ball a little bit. I like what Pele Larson does. He's a little bit older, but he could still be something. And like Pat Riley said, he doesn't want to be here for a full rebuild. So at the end of the day, you still have the ability to win some games now, but there's prospects and hopes that next year you'll be back to at least competitive. The Pistons getting Lindy Waters III, Josh Richardson, and a second-round pick. Hey, you gave up nothing. You got Lindy Waters, who can be a rotational pick or a rotational player. Josh Richardson, who can be a rotational player when he's healthy. Like I said, he's missed a ton of time this year with injuries, and a second-round pick. Who the hell cares? You gave up nothing, and you got a second-round pick and Lindy Waters out of it. Good job, Pistons. Jazz get Dennis Schroeder. Like I said, Mr. Dennis Schroeder, do not buy real estate there. Don't bother. Look for an apartment. Crash at Isaiah Collier's place. I don't know. But, you know what? Lowry Marketing? Nah, I'm trying to think. Who could Dennis Schroeder room with in Utah? What Jazz player could Dennis hang out with? Or are they just going to call him and be like, hey, bro, don't even bother showing up to work. You know what's going to happen. I don't know. Dennis Schroeder's been getting passed around a lot. I like Dennis Schroeder. Unfortunately, he didn't provide anything for Golden State, really. Tough. Jimmy Butler will wear number 10 with Golden State. That's kind of ugly in my opinion. But I'm kind of used to him in 22. He was 22, I believe. So maybe 10 will work. But I'm not sure overall. I think that the Warriors long-term are still in the same spot that they were yesterday. And the Warriors now are definitely better. They're hoping for a playoff Jimmy type run. Whether you can get that in the West or not, I don't know. If I'm being honest, the West is very tough. There's teams that I don't know if he's going to be able to just one-man charge through, but that's why he has Steph Curry. But my big question mark is how is this team going to work spacing-wise? While Jimmy Butler's been better from three-point range this year, I still don't think his jump shot's something that defenses have to respect every time. Combine that with Draymond Green and Trace Jackson Davis and Buddy Hield on the court together. You're going to have some clunky nights. But Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler are going to give you 2 very fiery individuals in the locker room, to say the least. I'll say fiery. That's how I'll describe them. Overall, this was one of those trades where you went, thank God it's over. Because I got tired of the Jimmy Butler drama. I didn't think I was going to make a video about this, but I haven't uploaded in a couple days at this point. And on top of that, I had another video planned, but with the NBA trade deadline coming, I genuinely don't know what's going to happen. There could be one more big move. The Suns think they're done. I think the Suns are not making a move. Chris Haynes put out a statement just a few minutes ago that said, and I quote from Chris Haynes, multiple obstacles in the way to make a drastic change at the deadline. Phoenix Suns were always prepared to venture into the second half of the season with the core roster in place. With future no longer in doubt for the time being, the internal hope is improved play. So what they're basically saying is hey, bud, we got nothing cooked up. We suck. We just hope we get better in the second half. Boy, Suns fans, y'all are in the pits of hell, huh? Tough times, but if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure, let's have some fun, I'm going to go catch the game. See you guys in the next one.